Hello, and welcome to the Hammond Solutions channel. We're going to continue our multi-part series on VMware, and today we're going to discuss template creation. We have a list of all of our templates. In my case, I have my data center, my VMware cluster, and then I have a folder called templates. These are all the templates that I already have created. If I want to create a VM from here, all I have to do is right-click on the VM and say, New VM from this template, and then I'm greeted with a wizard. At the very end here, you see there's options, and there's a lot of cool things we could do with that. What we want to do is if we click on our little hamburger menu up here, and then if we go to Policies and Profiles, you can see here there's a VM customization specifications. So this is what we want to do. Click on that, say New, give it a name it whatever you want as long as it makes sense to you. Same thing with the description, not required. In our case, we're going to create this customization file for a Windows 10 machine, so we want to select Windows. You always have the option to use a sysprep answer file, or you could generate a new security identity or a SID. This is a hot topic because ever since Windows, I want to say 2019, there's an argument that Windows machine SIDs no longer matter in Active Directory because historically you could have conflicts. People still opt to create new SID. That's what we're going to do here. So if we say next, our next option is who's the owner, what's the name. We can put whatever you want. Say 9Danka. Because I'm running the dark theme, sometimes you get a white menu. Say next. We have the option to name the actual virtual machine. In this case, I usually like to use the virtual machine name. You have many other options. You can enter the name during the wizard. You can enter a name and it's always the same, or you could append a unique number. So you could say test and then it'll do -001 and it'll keep going. Or generate a new name using a custom application configured by vCenter. For this, we're going to use the virtual machine name. Click Next. You could pull KMS keys from Microsoft's official site. All you have to do is just Google KMS product keys. In my case, I like to run Windows 10 Enterprise for a number of reasons outside of the scope of this. We'll just go ahead and copy product key here, and we can put it here. For this version of Windows, we want to do per seat. Click Next. On this screen, we're being asked for an administrator password. Now remember, this is for the local administrator account within the VM itself. It's best practice to have an additional administrator account within the VM itself. It just provides an alternative way for you to log in other than using the administrator account. For lack of stating the obvious, it's also best to use the same username and password for these administrator accounts on all of your templates. All this being said, you want to make sure you're following your company's best practices and standards. We don't want to automatically log in. Go ahead and click Next. For time zone, we're going to select our time zone, which for me is the Eastern time. Click Next. In here, you can run commands once at startup. We don't have a requirement for that at this time. Click Next. To discuss a scenario, if you're going to create a Windows VM, say for instance a Windows 10 VM that's just going to act as a jump box of types, you might have that on a DHCP network, so we'll cover that. As another example, if you're creating a Windows Server VM, you probably want to set a static IP address, and we'll cover that next. On this screen, we have several options for the network. We can either create a DHCP connection, or if we need to create a static IP. To start out, we'll assume that this is a Windows client in a DHCP network. If that's the case, no changes are actually required. You just select your first option here, stating that you want DHCP. You select the NIC, and then you click Next. Alternatively, if you'd like to create a static IP for your virtual machine, select the Manually Select Custom Settings, select your NIC, and then click Edit. You have several options here for actually setting the IP address. If you need to set a static IP address for your template, and you'd like to be prompted while you're going through the wizard, select Prompt the user for an IP version 4 address. What that means is when you're actually going through the wizard and you come to the network section, it's going to ask you for an IP address. The nice thing is when the VM is actually being created, it'll use that static IP that you're asked for during the wizard. We'll need to provide additional information such as the subnet, the gateway. Just to show you the additional screens, Here's IP version 6. We don't need to make any changes here. We'll need to provide the DNS servers that we want the VM to use. We'll provide the suffix. And then just to show the screen, here's wins. We don't use that. Go ahead and click OK. And then you can say next. In here, we can join the machine to a domain after it's been booted. For me, it depends on what I'm doing, again, because it's a heavy lab environment. I don't like to join it to the domain. I like to keep things pretty clean, so I'll just keep it as work group. You could customize it for your needs. Click next. Now you can see it's ready to complete, and we have a verification screen. Click finish. To use the template we just created, go to inventory. I'm in the folders view, and then I have a folder called templates. So we just did a Windows 10. So if I right click on Windows 10 and I say new VM from this template, we could give it a name. So we could say Tim Test 01. Because they have folders, I'm just going to put it in testing. Anything in my testing folder is just scratch, so I know I could just delete it. So click next. And then we want it in the cluster. Click next. Just select the container where it's going to go. So select next. Now here we want to customize the operating system. We could customize the virtual machine hardware and then power on the virtual machine after creation. When I do the customize operating system and I click next, we have an option, customize the guest. So Windows 10 is what we just did earlier. So if we click next, now just for good fun, we could give it 8 gigs of RAM, 4 CPUs. We won't get into the topic of NUMA. Go ahead and click next, and then finish. If I open my console and click launch, we can see the VM booting. After the VM is booted, I usually like to wait about 2 minutes, and then what happens is the machine will restart itself, and then it'll go into all of its changes. So it'll do sysprep changes and a couple other goodies, and then it'll reboot. All in all, that's nothing I programmed, that's just the way the process works. So after it's done, you can see there's a host name change inside the VM, and then it also has a new SID. So here's a reboot number 1. Now, if you watch the screen very carefully, you're going to be able to see a little terminal window or command prompt pop up, a couple commands, a couple windows, and it just disappears. So there you have it. You just saw the Windows command prompts open, and they're really quick. Now we have our second reboot. Now we can go ahead and log into our machine. As a proof, we can open a command prompt, and we could type hostname, and we could see that the machine's name is tim-test-01. As far as resources, if we go to Task Manager, we could see performance. And what you could see here is we have virtual processors, quantity 4, 1 socket. And as far as RAM, we have 8 gigabytes. That completes our Windows 10 template. I don't usually use VMware tools to modify my Linux templates. What I do is I create a VM, I then sanitize it, and embed a couple scripts, shut the machine down, and then convert it to a template. When the new VM is created from the template, my scripts run and does all the customization for me. Another really powerful tool is called Cloud Init. And in my lab environment, I really don't have a need for it. It's complete overkill. And that's why I choose to do Linux VMs the way I do. All right, you know how to create a template. What are you going to do? I'm sure you've already thought of something. Well, what are you waiting for? Get to it. I hope you had fun and found this helpful. Thank you for your time. Take care.